Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekend Sports and NFC North Breakdown again, getting back in the swing of everything, getting all our video streaks back up because it's been a little bit since I've been able to do all these videos, and I kind of had a little bit of time since my schedule switch happened. Um, I missed about uh 3 weeks of going over videos. I did have a pregame and a post-game to the Commanders video, so realistically, I missed two games. For the Lions, 3 games for everybody, 3 to 4 games for everybody else. Um, Lions ended up beating the Bucks on Monday Night Football. That was a pretty good game. Um, Show they still have capability. Bucks are a really, really good team. And then the next week, divisional matchup loses to the Vikings, 27-24. It was just a very undisciplined game from the Lions. Not that despite the Vikings in any way, they're not as good as the Lions, but it's a divisional matchup. Anything can happen inside the division. I always say, we beat the Packers when they were at top of the division and we were 3-13 or whatever. It can happen. Anything can happen inside a division game. It doesn't matter who's playing who. And you go on the next week and show some good dominance, even though you were hurt. Commanders were hurt. You show some good dominance against the Commanders. Played extremely well overall with who you've had the past few weeks due to your injuries. You just have played pretty decently. And then this week you have the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. It's probably not going to be a good game for you. They have the Eagles favored by 2.5, which I think is being very generous in the fact that the Lions might make it that close. I don't think they are. I think there's too many injuries going on for the Lions for them to make this kind of game that competitive. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But they're giving the Eagles a 51.5% chance to win. It's a very close game, they're saying, which is fine. Jared Goff has been a top 3 quarterback this year, stat wise. I know people don't want to agree, and they'll say, your guys, stat wise, top 3 quarterback in the league, which we'll see if that can continue. Maybe can help carry. If we can get Dan Campbell calling those plays again, maybe something different will happen. Maybe it'll look a little bit better. Again, we'll see what's going on. Otherwise, Gibbs, honestly, he's having a better year than Saquon Barkley, which is surprising. Almost 700 yards rushing. Barkley has almost 600, 4 TDs for Barkley, 8 for Gibbs. And before you say Gibbs has had more carries, he has actually had 20 less carries than Barkley. So he's having a better year than Barkley this year, which is kind of surprising. St. Brown having a better year than Devontae Smith. Really, overall, everyone's having a better year on the Lions and their top stats than the Eagles. So I think the Eagles are just the more well-rounded team. We have a lot of questionable injuries. Sewell's hurt, Wright's hurt, Amik Robinson's hurt, Laporta's hurt, Decker's hurt. Like, your big guys aren't 100%. They're probably all going to play. Everyone I just said probably will play. I have no doubt in that. It's just everyone's banged up, which is terrible to have. Hopefully they can slowly get better. But we'll see what ends up happening overall with this game. Moving on, because I can't just talk about the Lions. We'll move on to the Vikings because that's an easy spot to go. So overall, the Vikings, they've had an interesting 4 weeks going on. They played the Eagles. They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Chargers. They beat the Lions and then lost to the Ravens. So they did not have a good past month of playing football. Again, you show a little life against the Lions, and I don't think you're a terrible team. You're 1 game below 500, and you play the Bears this week, who have been playing fantastic. Can they beat the Bears? Can they not? I think it's supposed to be a close game. They're giving Minnesota the favorite because they're at home, 2.5. I think the Bears should be more favored in this, but it's basically a 50-50 matchup according to ESPN here. Which again, we'll see what ends up happening. Ben Johnson has done great in Chicago. So we'll see what fully ends up happening. Again, I don't think the Vikings are a bad team. They're an okay team. I mean, you have a young quarterback. I still think you probably should have had Darnold for a year, or you should have had Daniel Jones for a year, who's doing great in Indy right now. So we'll see what ends up happening. We'll move on from there. Now, I don't think they're going to be a bad team. Obviously, I'm going to be cheering for the Vikings this weekend because obviously I want the Lions to hold on to first place after the Packers have lost it throughout this month. But we shall see. Moving on to Chicago. Chicago themselves has had an interesting past month. They beat the Saints. They lost to the Ravens. They almost blew a game against the Bengals. remember my dad being very excited about that one, and then they ended up winning. Beat the Giants as you should, and then obviously you have the Vikings this week. So again, we'll see what ends up happening between the two teams. It might be good, it might not be, but overall, it'll be an interesting week to see what ends up happening. And then last but not least, you have the Packers. The Packers lost to the Eagles this past week, 10-7. Now a great game. Lost to the Panthers. Beat the Steelers. Beat the Cardinals. So it's been okay. It's been an okay week for the Packers, but we'll end up fully seeing what's going on. See if it'll be okay for them. They have the Giants this week. Should win. Should be 6-3-1 by the end of this week. But overall, anything can happen. That's what football is. But we'll leave it here. If you like to see, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about what can happen inside the NFC North this week. Until next time, we'll see everybody soon.